Okay, so now we're going to talk about an owner lease versus a corporate lease, meaning the owner is an individual or the owner is a company. Who are you signing a lease with? You're always going to sign the lease as a corporation, but you may be the landlord might be a individual or a corporation or a business. So we sell our service to clients and guests. However, we sell ourselves to landlords and need to understand who we are selling ourselves to, and how will this affect our operations and our opportunities. There are many differences working with different landlords, from how the lease is executed to how your day-to-day actions and items are going to be affected. When you're signing a lease, you typically have more freedom to adjust the lease with an owner versus a corporation. It's easier to get an individual landlord to change their mind regarding an amendment or a certain thing than it is a corporation that must follow a chain of command. These things could be who pays for the utilities and what utilities are included in them. Who pays for the landscaping? What are my responsibilities as a tenant? What happens when something breaks? What happens if I break my lease? All of these things are amendments and sections in the lease and things that are up for negotiation. What I'm saying here is that if you're working with a corporation, you're going to be less likely to get these things changed and have less control over the lease in general when you're working with a big corporation. All of these things could contain hundreds or thousands of scenarios that are all different, and the lease would determine how it gets solved. So the lease, like I said before, is the contract. There are no rules other than what you put in the lease. So for any scenario that pops up, you're always going to refer back to the lease to see if it's your responsibility or the landlord's responsibility. If you have units in an apartment complex and you get an insect infestation, which can definitely happen, don't think stuff like that is off the table. You're jumping into something where you will need to be prepared to handle stuff like this. So if that were to happen, where you're to get insect infestation, you may be able to get the HOA to come in with an exterminator and take care of it all without you having to do anything. That's the benefit of having a big corporation as a landlord. However, if you just rent a home from somebody, an individual, he might be like, you're responsible for getting the insects out of there. There's no HOA here. It's your responsibility. So, is there an HOA involved? That's something that you also have to think about. I will not go through everything that could happen. The point is, who you are signing the lease with can change how you sign the lease. Who you are signing the lease with can change how you sign the lease. You want to win and sign the best lease you can, but at the end of the day, never forget, do the numbers, and the numbers will tell you what to do. Don't get caught up on, this piece of the lease isn't the way I want it, or this piece of the lease isn't the way I want it, or they have me paying for these extra utilities. Does the number still work? When you punch in those extra utilities that the landlord has you paying, do the numbers still work? Yes? Okay, proceed. No? Okay, then don't sign the lease. Do the numbers will tell you what to do, and don't overthink things. You typically have less action items and emergencies to respond to in an apartment complex with corporate landlords. They have a ton of amenities, they have the HOA, and that comes in handy when you want to take work off your plate in such instances like the insect infestation. In my experience, you're more likely to persuade someone when there is only one person making the decision. Your personal character have more of an influence on the deal. That does not mean you'll always get a better deal in the long run. A major opportunity that you cannot forget about is the corporate landlords are fantastic referral partners. Go back to the referral partners lesson. Listen again. Referral partners are fantastic. They help you, and corporate landlords are one of the best ones you can find. If you can start with 1 to 2 units and work your way up to 10, 15, 20, 30 units with the same landlord, you're going to be on their radar, and any other project that they do where they hear Airbnb, they're going to think of you. Any other projects that they do where they need a long-term tenant, they're going to come and think of you. Why? Because you are their favorite tenant. You handle their occupancy needs. You give them someone they can trust, that they'll get paid, and that everything's going to be good with the unit, and they'll utilize that and say, good, take as many as you can. You're paying me a premium. I trust you. Take them all, right? So that's where you're going to get to with these corporate landlords, right? In addition, like I said, you can also work in first right of refusal with some of these things. It's not unlikely that if you own 10, 15, 20 units in a building of 300 units, that you have significant market share. You have 10% market share of that whole entire unit. If you have 30 units and there's 300, now you can work in first right of refusal. Hey, if you ever decide to sell this building in its entirety, come speak to me. Let's see if we can work something out. Maybe it's a seller finance deal. Maybe I can figure out how to buy this from you. If you have enough in that building to get on the corporate landlord's radar and to get first right of refusal in that building and take up a significant amount of market share, you're going to have enough money to buy the building. That's the best thing about this industry. It is the best cash flow model. You do it once, and then you get so much cash flow coming in. You can buy whatever you want with the cash flow. Like I said earlier, my method is I use this model to get me cash flow. Once I get the cash flow, I then diversify into more Airbnb arbitrage units, and then I also buy some. This way I'm diversifying my portfolio because they're both good for different things. Moral of the story is there's no right way or wrong way to go about this. Different opportunities will present themselves to you, none being better or worse depending on what you do with them. I want to give you the information and the ideas to make the decisions that are confident and highly successful both long-term and short-term. The more time you spend in this industry, the more you'll start to see these opportunities to grow and branch out your business. Be ready to get creative with your approach to these opportunities, no matter who the landlord is. If you're always ready and always creative and always on top of it, and you have this data, all of this course data in your knowledge bank, you're going to be able to easily pull from it what you need, when you need it, in order to strike up the best deals all the time. And that's my goal. I want you to have the resources, the knowledge to strike up amazing deals, to sound confident, to sound competent, to be just a complete killer in this industry. But you got to have the data first so you can competently speak to people. With any landlord, the one thing we do want to maintain is the energy that we are their favorite tenant and we can truly be a blessing to the operation and help them avoid any fears they have about occupancy or something breaking, anything like that. If you don't feel confident about this yet, make sure you watch that lesson again and write down the main points. With the landlords, they will know if you have no idea what you're doing or if you're very, very experienced in this industry based on how you present yourself. But what you need to remember is they do not know as much as you know about why you're their favorite tenant. I have seen people let fear in when talking to people they think are important, and just the thought of talking to someone who is a decision maker can scare people. The cure for fear is knowing your offer and your service. Again, if you don't know your offer and the service that we're providing, go back to your favorite tenant lesson, listen to it again, go through it again, write down all the points, write them down again until you memorize it because, like I said, the tenants will know if you're experienced or not by the way you're talking to them. And they will know if you're someone who knows what they're talking about. So know what you're talking about and don't leave that up to chance. That's something that we can't afford to leave up to chance. There's so many moving parts in this. The minimum thing we can do to make sure we're prepared is to know what the hell we're selling and be able to communicate that simply and competently to the landlord. We do this. Landlords can be lining up at your feet, whether they're corporate landlords, whether they're individuals. You're going to be prepared to take on any of them. And again, go to bat that you will be their favorite tenant. And that's how you're going to win in this industry.